You are live. Well, apparently I am live. So I am just going to wait here and see if we can see people joining. And just to chat a bit. Oh, we've got 5 people. There we are. There we are. We have people joining. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tea with a Druid 136. 136 of these. Isn't that many? All right. So I'm going to do the traditional hello, everybody. Tell us where you're from. Tell us where you are watching from. Tuscany in Italy. Oh, I've always wanted to go to Tuscany. Oh, that would be so amazing. What a beautiful part of the world. Folkestone, equally lovely, of course. San Francisco, Vienna. Hello, Petra. Derbyshire. Germany, Highlands of Scotland. Oh, lovely. Yes, look at this. People are here. So I am going to begin because Tea with the Druid is usually about 20 minutes. I have no idea how I'm going to fit what I want to say into 20 minutes. So I'm going to get right on with it. I think it might be more like half an hour tonight. So I hope you don't mind. I can see all your little comments here on the side. I'm using this StreamYard thing. It's very good. I haven't done this before. Oh, very exciting. So I am going to talk about the Mabinogi tonight. And if you are familiar with my music, you will know that my quest and relationship to the Mabinogi have led to these albums. And I would like to tell you why that is, what happened over the years. I hope you can hear me okay. I hope, I've got new comments. I've got to click on that to show. This is all very different to what I'm used to. Okay, so what led to this relationship with the Mabinogi? And what I would love is if you haven't encountered or read the Mabinogi, or if you have and you're one of those people that just didn't speak to, I hope that I'm going to fire up a bit of interest in you tonight. So my first encounter with the Mabinogi was years ago when I was a sales manager, believe it or not. Yeah, you wouldn't think so, would you? But I was a sales manager on the road for an agricultural company. And I was a pagan, and I would plan my route throughout the country. I had the western side of the country. So I had Devon, I had Cornwall, Wales, and I had Scotland. And I would plan my weekly route to stop so that the last call of the day would be close to some sacred site that I hadn't seen before. And on this particular day, it was my first encounter and visit to the stone circles of Stanton Drew. I remember it very clearly. And I went there, and also during that day, I'd managed to buy a copy of the Mabinogi, and it was the Geoffrey Gantz version. It was the Penguin version of the Mabinogi. And I went to Stanton Drew, did some funky things at Stanton Drew. It's a shame I have to refresh all the comments all the time to see all the new ones. So, because it would be nice if they just flowed up the side of the page, but they don't, I don't think. Anyway, hello, everybody. We've got 390 people watching. That's lovely. Anyway, back to the story. So I went to Stanton Drew. Then in the evening, I went off to the hotel, which is more like a little bed and breakfast. And I started to read the Mabinogi. And I think, like many people, I could tell there was something there, but the language was so archaic and so overlaid with the Christian viewpoints that I couldn't quite relate to it how I thought I would. And so, but I didn't let go. I was like a little terrier dog at your trouser leg. I was like this, going, no, there's got to be more than this. There's got to be more to this. So I kept looking into it. I kept exploring it. And then I found that kind of spiritual connection with the 4th branch of the Mabinogi, which is the one with Gwydion and Blodeuwedd. And that allowed me then to go down the route. And I was already writing songs. I'd written Tomb of the King, and I'd written Noon of Solstice. And my third pagan song was Oak, Broom and Meadowsweet, which was me telling the second part of the fourth branch of the Mabinogi in song. And I absolutely loved it. And I also then obviously wrote Cloak of Feathers, and I wrote Blood Awedd, the song as well. And that was my connection, was with that tale. It was probably, to me at the time, the most magical of the four that I could relate to. And then some years later, I went to a Pagan Federation Scotland conference, and there was one of the speakers there was basically doing a talk to take apart the Mabinogi and basically show that it's just like a book. There's nothing ancient, there's nothing spiritual in there at all. And he kept on saying things like, to see these characters within this book as some kind of deity or spiritual thing is dangerous. He kept on saying it's dangerous. And he knew I was into this stuff, and I was at the front row, and every now and again he would look at me as if to say, when are you going to interrupt me? And I couldn't, and I didn't. And he said afterwards, I thought you would say something during that talk. And I said, well, to be honest, I couldn't, because I don't know if that's the truth or not right now. It doesn't feel like that's the truth, but I had no evidence to back that up. Now, if that talk happened now, after all of the research I've done for these albums, I'd have a very, very different response. So the Mabinogion, I can see people who have said that they have read it and tried to read it, that they've read different versions. Where did these come from? I'm going to refresh the comments again. Where did they come from? Oh, voice to text is murdering Welsh. Oh, I bet it is. I can't wait to see what voice to text does this tomorrow. Oh my word, can you imagine? All right. Anyway, yes, we're going to have some fun with this tonight. The Mabinogion, as we know it today, come from two books that were written down in the 1300s, in the Middle Ages, is the White Book of Rhydderch and the Red Book of Hergest. The Red Book of Hergest is probably a little later than the White Book. And they were written down into these books by Christian scribes in a scriptorium that we think somewhere maybe like Strata, Florida, or something like that in Wales, where these books were written down. And sometimes I think people think when, these stories were written down by Christian monks, somewhere in their minds, they might think that monks had gone out amongst the people, listened to these stories, come back and wrote them down and Christianized them. A bit like Francis Child and the Copper family did with folk songs. They would go out into the countryside to villages, collect the folk songs, and then come back and write them down. But that's not what happened, particularly not with the White Book of Rhydderch. Rhydderch was the head of a very well-off Welsh family in the 1300s, and he could see that the Normans were from their base, in London, were threatening, severely threatening Welsh culture, language, and story, and a lot of the culture is held within the story. So he commissioned this book to be written down and to be held and to preserve those tales. So it was a very different process, and then that book came into the Rhydderch family, and that then, what actually happened is that the Mabinogion did indeed, for many, many, many years, disappear. It wasn't at the forefront of Welsh culture at that time. It did disappear, but it was held within this ancient book that was held within Welsh Museum. And then in the 1800s, a lady called Lady Charlotte Guest, a linguist, decided to try and translate the White Book of Rhydderch, and she had a go. She did all right for the time. She had a go. This White Book of Rhydderch contains lots of stories. It contains some of the earliest Arthurian tales, as in Culhwch and Olwen. It contains the story of Taliesin and Ceridwen within this book. And it also contains what are now known as the 4 branches of the Mabinogi. And what happened was, because Arthur was very, very popular, the very first books to be released were the Arthurian Tales. The Mabinogi was released in 7 books, but 7 volumes at first. And the first ones were the Arthurian Tales. And the stories that now we know as Mabinogi, as the 4 branches, they were the very last stories to be translated and published out of the whole book. Yet, of course, now we can see that out of all of them, they are probably the most important stories. And although the book is called the Mabinogion in the English translation, that's a mistranslation. A chap called William Owen Pugh, I believe, Head, something like that. He mistranslated, and he thought Mabinogion was the pure plural of Mabinogi, but Mabinogi is already a plural word. Mabinogi is already plural. And the Mabinogi really is the 4 branches of the Mabinogi, 3 of which are here. 4th one coming in a few years' time. I hope you're keeping up with this. I hope you're not bored. Let me just see where are you doing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no one's doing Zs. Now, the 4 branches of the Mabinogi, they were rooted really in the oral tradition, and they are meant to be heard. They're not meant to be really read. They're only read because they were written down in the Middle Ages and were translated, and they're now in books. But their source is the oral tradition. And of course, a version of the tale in one village might have been slightly different from a version from a tale in the other. But the ones that we have are the ones that were written down. And even 800 years or so after they were first written down, they still hold up. There is no plot fillers within these stories. And there are little magical plot twists that just they wouldn't be out of place in some of those amazing high budget Marvel movies, to be honest with you. In fact, you know, I have a kind of worry and excitement that one day somebody will put the Mabinogi in a series of films, and it could either be really bad or really amazing, you know, if it's held on that. So it was first published by Lady Charlotte Guest in those 4 volumes. And the 4 branches will hold names that many of you will know, even if you haven't read the stories. You probably have heard of Rhiannon. You have probably heard of Blodeuwedd and Blodeuwedd. You have probably heard of the magician Gwydion, Mathonwy, son of Mathonwy. You've probably heard of a lot of these, Arian Rod, Llaethawgafes, Praderi. These may be words, and Branwen and Bran. You know, these are all names that many people know, and these are their tales. And essentially, they tell the stories of 2 houses. The 4 branches tell the story of 2 houses of families, 2 families. They tell the stories of the house of Llŷr, and they tell the stories of the house of Dawn. And they are linked together by another deity, character called Belai Mawr, who is linked with Penarddun, who is the woman who links both of these houses. So you have Dawn, Llŷr, and Belai as 3 link pins in the topics of the Mabinogi. And if you look at the stories, Llŷr is very much represents the sea, represents the oneness of the ocean. I live 8 minutes away from. How are we doing? Oh, 15 minutes already. Oh my word! Oh, I need to do a whole hour on this. Anyway, all I'm just going to do is put little ideas and things for you at the moment. I live about 8 minutes away from the sea, and when I stand within that water, I am standing in 2/3 of the world's surface in the same water that is lapping on the shores of Miami or the shores of Johannesburg, the shores of Durban or Cape Town, rather, not Johannesburg. But all over the world. And so Llŷr represents the oneness. And Llŷr, when you look at the stories of Llŷr, they're very emotional. They're really emotional stories again. And our ancient ancestral Celtic ancestors, they didn't necessarily revere 4 elements. They tended to revere 3: land, sky, and sea. And so sea is represented by the House of Llŷr, the House of Dawn. When you look at their stories, their magic and their stories is almost like witchcraft. It is almost like it's grounded, and they make mistakes when they work with their magic in the House of Dawn. And so Dawn and the House of Dawn often can be seen to represent the land. And the sky, well, Beltane, Bel-Imar, is often seen as the sun or the sky or the firmament, everything out there. So within the House of Dawn, Llŷr, and Beli, you have land, sky, and sea. Amazing. I love that. So I think it's traditional that we do a little meditation. So I will stop there. And if you would like to get comfortable, I will check that you can still all hear me, that I haven't disappeared and everything like that. Yeah, looks like you can still hear me. So get comfortable, shake off some of your, if you're tense or something like that, get comfortable, nice straight back, and just enter a little meditation, little guided meditation with me, where we're going to meet with those elements. So close your eyes. Let the weight fall from your shoulders. And take a long, slow breath with the earth beneath us. And a long, slow breath with the sky above us. And a long, slow breath with the seas that surround the islands and lands of this planet, of this world. Imagine yourself standing within a forest. Look around you and see the trees that surround you. You can breathe in the air of the forest and smell that earthy smell of the land. And if you like, you can reach out and touch the bark of the tree close beside you. And you feel the presence and the power of the trees all around you. And as you look ahead, you see a path that is leading through the forest. And you begin to walk that forest path. And you may find yourself being joined by woodland animals, birds, as you walk through that forest. And you feel the presence of the goddess Dawn beneath your feet, of the earth. And ahead of you, you see the forest opens up and you can see the blue of the sea just beyond a sandy beach. Small waves gently lapping the shore. And you walk through the forest and out onto that sand. And suddenly you hear the sound of the sea waves. And you walk slowly down across that sand until you get to the shore. And when you get to the shore, you don't stop, you just walk into the sea and allow the sea to lap around your ankles and then your knees, and then you stop there. And you just feel the coolness of the sea on your body, and you feel the presence of the earth beneath your feet in this liminal space where the land and the sea connect. And you just take in that energy, feel that connection. Of the caress of Llŷr upon the skin of dawn. And you hear the earth sigh, and you look to the sky, and there you see the sun in the sky, the eye of Bel, Belai Mawr, shining down upon the sea and upon the land, upon Llŷr and upon dawn. And you are blessed in that moment by the elements of land, sea and sky, in that place where all three meet. And you breathe in that energy, and it blesses you, invigorates you, washes over you. And then you give thanks to Belai Mawr. You give thanks to Llŷr. And you give thanks to dawn. In whichever way you feel is right for that moment. And then you turn and you walk back onto the shore, back across that beach towards that woodland. And into the protective company of trees. And you return to the point where you began this meditation, and you feel blessed by land, sky, and sea. And your awareness of the woodland begins to fade. And as your awareness of the woodland begins to fade, so your awareness of the room that you are sitting in begins to become more pronounced. And you feel maybe the chair beneath you and the room around you. And you feel your physical body. And you wiggle your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. I hope you're all back with us after that. And what else can I tell you? Well, the Mabinogi contains a great deal of magic, and that magic tends to come from its interaction with a place called Annwn or Annwn. And Annwn literally means not world. And the idea of Annwn is it is another place, but it exists in exactly the same space as you are. If you could just slightly take a step, and I'm not going to do any kind of song here, but if you take a step to the right or a step to the left, sometimes you might be able to just catch a glimpse of Annwn, because it's all here all the time. And that magic and energy, there's some people say that all of the magic of this world, of the middle world, of Arbred, exists because of the interaction between Arbred and Annwn and Annwn. And one of the things that came from Annwn is the cauldron of rebirth. And there are many cauldrons in Celtic mythology, but this I'll tell you a little story here, and then I will let you go, because I don't want to take up your entire evening, but I do want to tell you this. The cauldron of rebirth is spoken about in the second branch of the Mabinogi, and it is said that if a dead warrior is placed within the cauldron of rebirth, they will be born the next day, ready for battle, but without the gift of speech. And I thought, well, why is that? And there are people who say that myth is the second level of story. There is the story itself, and then there's the depth of what is beneath the story, the hidden meaning, the occult meaning. And of course, it reminded me of the birth of my second son. He was an arranged cesarean, and I remember, being there, and the doctors were on the other side of the screen, and I saw them do this, and they made the incision. And the doctor suddenly went, "Oh, hello." And it would appear that my son was like, "Yep, come on, let's do this. I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready. Come on." And they pulled him out. And one of the midwives, they said, "Oh, he's an old soul." And I thought, yeah. And all he could do, though, was cry at me. And at that moment of birth, he may well have had memories of past life, memories of the other world and everything. And he might have been trying to tell me, he might have been going, "Dad, you will not believe where I've been. It was amazing. There were waterfalls of mead. It was just incredible." But what could he say? Wah, wah. He couldn't say a word. And I thought, well, maybe that is what they mean by they are reborn without the gift of speech, because people who have been to the other world must never tell of their experiences there. And that's just one tiny little aspect of the second level of story that exists within the Mabinogi. So I hope you have enjoyed this Tea with a Druid. If you want to read a copy of the Mabinogi, without doubt the best current translation is one called by a person called Sionad Davis. It's a great translation. It's also the translation that I used as the basis of my albums. And so, if you want to hear it rather than read it, then all three of the Mabinogis are available on the OBOD store at druidry.org. So if you want to hear these stories, they're also on Spotify and Apple Music if you're a subscriber there, and then you don't even have to buy them. So just go and listen to them. I hope this has inspired you to explore the Mabinogi more. And I also hope that it's gone a little way to tell why I'm so obsessed with them. And to end with, I'm going to play you a song from the third branch. And I hope that the sound is okay. One of the people who come back from the war in the second branch is the bard Taliesin, and so I imagined the 7 survivors with Taliesin being sat down by campfires, being entertained by the primary chief bard of the Island of the Mighty. And this is one of the songs that come from that moment in the third branch. It's called The Stones and Bones of Albion. And I hope this sounds nice. There was a time I was sure I might see my home nevermore, and the blood and the tears of the war would last forever. Our king gazes over the sea. Two blessed ravens fly high and fly free, and I pray that I'll always be here forever. Where high water falls into valleys below, and Merlin's great mountains are painted with snow, and the circles of stones whisper stories of long ago. For if ever I may roam from the stones and bones of Albion, the land and sea my home, my heart will always remain. And how I need to hear the songs from the stones and bones of Albion. This is where my soul belongs. The shining brows sing from every tree. The birds, the beasts, sing the stones and bones of Albion. Hear as the song of the wind joins with the voice of the bard as he sings of magic and cauldrons and kings forever. Sing of the wisdom of trees, how the Druids told all of their lore to the bees, reflected in all that he sees forever. When high water falls into valleys below, and Merlin's great mountains are painted with snow, and the circles of stones whisper stories of long ago. For if ever I may roam from the stones and bones of Albion, the land and sea my home, my heart will always remain. And how I need to hear the songs from the stones and bones of Albion. This is where my soul belongs. The shining brows sing from every tree. The birds, the beasts, sing the stones and bones of Albion. What are these visions I see of oak, broom and meadow sweet, of eyes that yearn to be free forever? Two dragons take to the wing. A sword is drawn from a stone as he sings of a boy born to be king forever. When high water falls into valleys below, and Merlin's great mountains are painted with snow, and the circles of stones whisper stories of long ago. For if ever I'm a hero from the stones and bones of Albion, the land and sea my home, my heart will always remain. And how I need to hear the song from the stones and bones of Albion. This is where my soul belongs. The shining brow singing from every tree. The birds, the beasts, sing the stones and bones of Albion. Lovely. Okay. Well, I have one more thing to do that I'd like to do, and then I will let you go. This is the Order's sword, and I think that many of us are having maybe a little bit of a hard time at the moment, so I would like the blessings of the sword to reach out to you. So I will... here we are, there we are, here we are. Behold this, our Order's sword, drawn from the lake of still meditation, and returned to it again, ever sharp and ever with us, should our lake be stilled. Well, thank you, everybody. Sorry I've gone on. It's 37 minutes. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed being with you. I'll have to do another one of these. I'm going to have a look at the comments, see how we're doing. Anyway, have a lovely rest of your evening. And yes, I wish you all peace and blessed be. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye.